And obviously a little bit of a different looking lineup here tonight. Leading it off is Matt DeCina. He plays third base tonight. Andrew McMillan slides over to shortstop. He bats second, with Dan Mantoni, the starting pitcher tonight, batting third. It is Joe White who moves up into the cleanup spot. He plays second base, with Michael Ryan, the catcher, batting fifth. Blake Hill moves all the way up to sixth in the lineup. He plays right field, with Cam Wachusett sliding over to left field, batting seventh. Mike Caffarella back into the starting lineup for the third time in these playoffs. He will play first base and bat eighth, and in the ninth spot is the center fielder, Kevin Lynch. So you can see a lot of positional shuffling going on tonight, which has typically been the case when Dan Mantoni has been on the mound. He obviously comes in from that normal shortstop spot, and as a result, Andrew McMillan slides over from third base to short. Matt DeCina comes in from the outfield to take over at third. And the additional shifts, obviously, with Mike Caffarella in at first base, not Kevin Martinez, and also a little bit of a different alignment in the outfield with Blake Hill in at right and Cam Wachusett in at left. And so now we move on to the hometown starting lineup. Wachusett, post 42, looking for a series sweep here at home tonight. This is the lineup they produce. It is the shortstop, Connor Gill, who leads off once again, with Jordan Tevens in the number 2 spot playing second base. Dan Jankura plays third base and bats third, with Cam Ruziak, who was last night's offensive hero. He is once again the cleanup hitter and the catcher. Tanyan Ventris, last night's winning pitcher, he plays first base tonight and bats fifth, with Eric Sachs, the right fielder, batting sixth. Tim Post is the left fielder, batting seventh, with A.J. Papandrea, the designated hitter, batting eighth. And in the ninth spot is the center fielder, Kevin Whitmer. And your pitching matchup in tonight's game, it is Dan Mantoni on the mound for post 59. He is opposed by Owen Gibbons. We are back here in Wachusett Regional High School in Holden, game number 2 of these Zone 4 finals, and we're already 2 pitches deep into this inning, getting underway right on time as Owen Gibbons already now set with his third pitch of this top of the first inning to the leadoff hitter for Milford, Matt DeCina. That one misses outside. DeCina once again the leadoff hitter for this team, looking to get on base. Milford would certainly appreciate grabbing some early runs to take some of the pressure off this offense. The next pitch in is a called strike 2. DeCina working the count as he usually does to open up an inning. The next pitch is hit in the air out to right field. In at first was the left fielder Sachs. Then it ends up over his head, rolls to the wall, and it will go as a long single for Matt DeCina, who gets on base to get things rolling for the Milford offense. Before we continue on, we do want to give you our game time temperature for this afternoon's game. It is a hot one here in Holden, Massachusetts. 77 degrees here at field level. It feels even hotter than that with not a lot of cloud cover and very bright sunshine. And as you can no doubt hear, just off from my position, a lot of Milford fans making the drive out here to Holden, cheering on this team in an elimination situation. They have the leadoff man aboard here in the top of the first inning. For now, Andrew McMillan, who swings at the first pitch and pops it up right around the first base bag. In and out of foul ground is Tanyan Ventris. He makes the catch, and McMillan is retired on just one pitch. Matt DeCina remains at first base with now 1 out in the inning. And that brings Dan Mantoni to the plate. We mentioned him in the pregame show. He is tonight's starting pitcher. A player who has been part of this post 59 team for a long time. 5 years now with post 59. He does not want to see his career with Milford end this afternoon. He wants to see this season keep going. Has an opportunity to perform on both sides of the ball tonight, but he starts off on an 0-2 count against Owen Gibbons. He bats with Matt DeCina at first base, and 1 down in this inning. A pickoff check over at first base, and DeCina is able to slide back in safely. DeCina with 7 stolen bases on the season. That is second on the team. Dan Mantoni, meanwhile, carries a .417 batting average into the game this afternoon. The 0-2 pitch is down in the dirt. Mantoni doesn't chase, and the count goes to 1-2. Dan 1 for 3 in the game at Pheno Field last night. Here's the 1-2 pitch. It misses away, and the count evens at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Mantoni undefeated in the regular season, a perfect 4-0 record, and an ERA under 1, but in the meantime looking to get the offense rolling here. He hits a high fly ball out to left field. Fighting the sun is Tim Post, but he's able to hang with it, and he makes the catch for out number 2. Tessina opened this inning with a single. He remains at first base now with 2 outs, and it's up to Joe White. White with the pressure of moving up into this cleanup spot in the batting order, replacing Kevin Martinez, who is unable to play in this game. If you missed our coach's corner, Kevin Martinez unable to play, as now Matt Tessina trying to steal second base, and he is going to be thrown out. A nice throw by Cam Ruziak. That is the second time now in this series that Matt Tessina has been caught stealing. This time it ends the top of the first inning. And we are through half an inning now from Wachusett Regional High School. No score. Post 42 will take their first swings when we come back here on WMRC First Class Radio. Well, Matt Tessina making it out on the bases with 2 away in the top of the first inning. That ends any potential run-scoring opportunity for Milford, and now Dan Mantoni heads out to the mound, making this all-important start. Delivers the first pitch in for a called strike 1 to Connor Gill. The righty Mantoni ready with his 0-1 pitch. That's on the outside edge for a called strike 2. Again, Dan Mantoni 4-0 in his 4 starts this year. Victories in each start he made in the regular season. Sends that pitch a little too far off the outside edge. Gill doesn't chase, and the count goes to 1-2. Dan pitching 24 innings in the regular season, allowed just 19 hits, 1 earned run all season long. This ball is sent on the ground to third base. Matt Tessina makes the play there, and the throw over to Mike Cafarella at first base. And the leadoff hitter is retired for Wachusett. And it is a different sort of infield alignment for post 59 tonight, so everyone trying to make sure that the communication is very strong out there amongst the infielders. Is now first pitch swinging. Jordan Teven sends one on the ground to shortstop. It's Andrew McMillan who makes the play there. And despite the different looking left side of the infield, each fielder able to make a good play here to open up this bottom of the first inning. 2 outs now and the base is empty. That full defensive alignment, Michael Ryan behind the plate, Andrew McMillan Matt Tessina at third. It is Andrew McMillan at short, Joe White at second, and Mike Cafarella at first. Left to right in the outfield, Cam Cosette, Kevin Lynch, and Blake Hill. First pitch in to Dan Jancora, the third baseman, was fouled away. So Mantoni starting ahead of these batters here in the first inning. Here's the 0-1 pitch. It's waved at and missed. Jancora off balance on that pitch. And he's down in the count, 0-2. Mantoni looking for a nice and easy 1-2-3 first inning. Into his windup, here is the 0-2 pitch. This is hit in the air pretty deep out to left center field, but ranging over is Kevin Lynch. He is there to make the catch, and it is indeed a 1-2-3 bottom half of the first inning for Wachusett. We've played 1 full now, and it is still scoreless between Milford and Wachusett. This is the Zone 4 Finals, and you are listening to it live on WMRC First Class Radio. Well, this game's starting off the same way as we saw last night, a scoreless first inning. And so we are quickly on to inning number 2, that top of the first, or that full first inning, I should say, only taking about 10 minutes. Both pitchers on their game in their respective first innings, so now it is Owen Gibbons back out there on the mound for the top of the second, facing the 4, 5, and 6 hitters in the Milford lineup. Joe White was at the plate when Matt Tessina was thrown out trying to steal second base, so he leads things off here in the top of the second, takes a called strike 1 to open up his at-bat. Gibbons, the righty, delivers this pitch in, and it's tapped foul down the first base line, and White quickly down 0-2 defensively for post 42, nearly identical to what we saw last night. Cam Ruziak behind the plate, Dan Jankura at third, Connor Gill at short, Jordan Tevens at second, and Tanyan Ventris at first base. Left to right in the outfield, Tim Post, Kevin Whitmer, and Eric Sachs. As White takes that pitch, it was close, but ruled a ball, and the count goes to 1-2. Gibbons wasting no time. The next pitch misses a little low. And now the count evens at 2-2. The 2-2 pitch on the way now from Gibbons, and this is hit on the ground towards shortstop. It clanks off the glove of Connor Gill and rolls out into center field. And Joe White will reach to lead things off here in the second. Well, that was one thing that Milford did not receive all night long last night, and that was defensive gaps on the Wachusett side. They were 100% rock solid defensively last night, but an error here from Connor Gill on a ball up the middle allows Joe White to reach base to lead off the second. And now the first pitch into Michael Ryan, the catcher, is good for a called strike one. Ryan on the negative end of one of those dazzling defensive plays by Wachusett last night. He ended up hitting a ball deep into the gap in right center with 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th, but Eric Sachs making a diving play to deny him an extra base hit, a hit that would have surely driven in a run. Instead, it ended that 6th inning, and then Milford went quietly in the 7th. Here's the 2-1 pitch now into Ryan, and it's a called strike 2. Michael Ryan ended up going 0 for 2 in the game yesterday. He had a strikeout. He did reach base via a walk. Lines this pitch down the right field line. That's going to drop down in fair territory and roll all the way to the corner out in right field. Joe White hitting third base. He will be held there on a double by Michael Ryan. That puts 2 runners in scoring position for Milford with no outs here in the second. Well, that is by far the hardest hit ball we've seen out of post 59 so far in this series. It's their first extra base hit. So Michael Ryan now at second base with Joe White at third, no outs in the inning. And here is Blake Hill now coming to the plate, the lefty digging into the batter's box as now Owen Gibbons will operate from the stretch. His first pitch misses outside for ball 1. Blake Hill making his playoff debut last night. He went 0 for 3. He also struck out in that 7th inning. He was one of the players that spoke to the media after the game, was very upbeat and positive. Looking forward to this game here tonight, saying the team just needed a better offensive effort, and he expected that they would have one. So he has an opportunity to take matters into his own hands right now. A quick visit to the pitcher's mound by catcher Cam Ruziak as Gibbons finds himself in a jam. Here's the 1-0 pitch, and it's in there for a called strike. You can feel a little bit of tension on the Milford side of this field. A big hit right here would do a lot to boost the confidence. Here is the 1-1 pitch. This is hit hard on the ground, but foul down the third baseline, and the count goes to 1-2. Fans lining both sides of the field, resting up against the chain link fence. Only goes about waist high around the first and third base lines. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Now this is chopped up the middle. The runners hold. The throw to first base is not going to be in time, and everyone's going to be safe. The runners at second and third held. That one bounced very high up over the pitcher's mound. And by the time Jordan Tevens could make a play on it, he could not get the throw to first base in time. They are loaded up here with no outs in the inning, and Cam Wachusett coming to the plate. An error, a double, and a single to start off this top of the second inning, and post 59 is in business. Looking for a hit here from Cam Wachusett, who makes a big swing and a miss on the first pitch. Dimensions of this ballpark here in Holden are conducive to the long ball, but certainly Milford would take a base hit any way they can get it. Cam Wuset swinging away in this at bat. He fouls off the second pitch to the backstop and now finds himself down in the count, 0-2. Mike Caffarella, the first baseman, is on deck. No balls and 2 strikes the count to Cam Wuset. Here's the next pitch, and just getting a piece of it was Wuset, fouling it off the end of the bat. Rolling just a few feet towards the first base dugout, and the count remains 0-2. Wuset trying to protect the plate here with 2 strikes. He settles back into the batter's box. Righty batter versus righty pitcher. Now Wuset backs out. Time given at home plate. Now back in there, ready to see another 0-2 pitch from Owen Gibbons. Here it is, and it is swung on and missed. Chasing a pitch down and away. Wuset a little antsy in that at bat. A big out for Gibbons. Gets a strikeout of Wuset. It keeps the runners at bay for now. 1 out in the inning, and now here is Mike Caffarella. And you have to imagine that Mike feels a little bit of pressure on his shoulders, knowing that his spot at first base tonight was vacated by Kevin Martinez. Trying not to do too much up there at the plate. He looks at the first pitch for ball 1. He has Joe White at third, Michael Ryan at second, Blake Hill at first, and now takes a strike right at the top of the zone. And that evens the count at 1-1. Caffarella did have an extra base hit in the semifinal round against Leominster. Here's the 1-1 pitch. It dips in low. 2 balls and 1 strike the count. Coach DeVito no doubt preaching patience to his hitters after that game last night. A lot of quick at-bats. Looking to make Gibbons work here in this start. Here's the 2-1 pitch. It's hit on the ground to the right side. It gets underneath the dive of the second baseman, Tevens. Into score comes Joe White. Michael Ryan hustling to the plate, the slide, and he is out at the plate. And in from third base comes Coach DeVito to argue the throw was high. Ruziak had to leap to grab it. And somehow, according to the home plate umpire, slapped the tag down on Michael Ryan, who was sliding into the plate. So Milford does get a run, but denied a second as Wuset was thrown out on a bang-bang play at the plate, and certainly from the naked eye, it looked like Michael Ryan was safe. So 2 outs now in the inning. Michael Ryan thrown out at home. Milford with a 1-0 lead. They have 2 more runners in scoring position as Kevin Lynch swings at the first pitch, hits it in the outfield. But out there in the left center field gap is Kevin Whitmer to make the catch. And the inning is over. So it comes to a quick end for Post 59. A controversial play at home plate, but they do get a run. And after an inning and a half, it is a 1-0 lead for Post 59 here on WMRC First Class Radio. Well, Post 59 able to finally get a run in this series after being shut out in last night's game. They grabbed their first run here in the top of the second inning. It could have been a lot more. They had the bases loaded with no outs. And a man thrown out at the plate in the inning. But nonetheless, a lead for Dan Mantoni to work with as he takes the mound here in the bottom half of the second, facing Cam Ruziak to lead things off, and Ruziak sends a ball foul on the first pitch for strike 1. Mantoni ready with the 0-1 pitch. It's hit to the backstop, and the count goes to 0-2. This is certainly nothing more than an observation, but sometimes the more defensive you see an umpire act on the field after a big play in a game like that is made, the higher the likelihood that he feels like he may have missed the call, and the home plate umpire not wanting to hear any discussion whatsoever amongst any of the Milford coaching staff, whether it be Coach DeVito or Coach Wynn as he came by from the first base coach's box. Meanwhile, Ruziak hits a ball on the ground to shortstop. McMillan there to make the play. A good throw to first base. And the first out is recorded here in the bottom of the second inning. 3 ground ball outs and a fly out so far for Dan Mantoni. He has 1 out here in the second, and now Tanyan Ventris, who was one of the Wachusett heroes last night, he steps in for the first at bat tonight. Ventris waves and misses. And we've seen a number of bad swings from Wachusett here in the first 2 innings, having difficulty picking up the pitches from Mantoni. A good sign for Milford is now, here's another swing and a miss, and Ventris is down in the count, 0-2. Tanyan last night, 7 innings pitched, no runs allowed to Milford. Allowed just 6 hits all game, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts. The 0-2 pitch, and that one narrowly misses outside, and the count goes to 1-2. Ventris was in the game offensively as well. He had 1 hit and 3 trips to the plate. Readies himself for a 1-2 pitch. He hits it on the ground to first base, played cleanly by Mike Caffarella. He takes it to the bag himself, and it is 2 up and 2 down. Here in the 2nd inning, Mantoni looking to shut things down quickly for the Wachusett offense, get the Milford bats right back to the plate, who finally started to feel some success against this Wachusett pitching staff last inning. But first, Mantoni must deal with Eric Sachs, the starting right fielder. Sachs takes the first pitch up high for ball 1. Eric in last night's game, batting out of the number 8 spot. He was 1 for 3 with a single. He also struck out against Dan Avery. Takes a strike here that evens the count at 1-1. So a slightly different looking lineup configuration for Coach Chuck Tidman tonight. Another swing and a miss from Sachs, and he's down in the count 1-2. Mantoni 1 pitch away from another 1-2-3 inning. Sachs back into the box. Stares out at Mantoni before leveling the bat above the shoulder. Here is the 1-2 pitch, and it drops in for a called strike 3. Sachs didn't like it, but he takes with him the first strikeout of the game for Dan Mantoni, who has retired the first 6 batters in the game. On to the 3rd inning we go, with Milford leading Wachusett 1-0 here on playoff coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio. Milford right back up at the plate after a very quick bottom of the 2nd inning, courtesy of the pitching of Dan Mantoni, who has been dead on in these first 2 innings. It's back up to the top of the order now, and Matt DeCina, who has had a bit of an up and down series. He's been on base quite a bit. 2 hits in the game yesterday, a single to start off the game here today. But he has been caught stealing twice on the bases, once last night and again in the top of the 1st inning. Working the count here against Owen Gibbons into his 3rd inning of work. As now this ball is hit on the ground to first base. It's gobbled up by Ventris. He'll need to use Gibbons at the bag, but the ball gets off the glove of the pitcher, and DeCina will reach. He took a turn around first base, had to scamper back to the bag, but he gets there. And you could kind of see that developing, as that ball was hit to first base not all that hard. It forced Ventris to venture far away from the bag. Needed to use the pitcher, but the throw was low, and it could not be handled. It will be an error on the first baseman. It allows DeCina to reach, and now a bunt attempt here for Andrew McMillan. It ends up rolling a little bit down the 3rd base line, fielded by Ruziak. He throws to first to get the out there, but it does move DeCina up into scoring position with just 1 out. Credit Andrew McMillan with a sacrifice bunt. 1 down in the inning now for Dan Mantoni, who has an opportunity to hit with a runner in scoring position. Wachusett led off the last inning for Milford with an error. That runner ended up coming around to score, but Mantoni here swings at the first pitch, pops it up in foul ground behind first base. This time, Ventris is able to make the play cleanly. And now there are 2 outs. And it leaves it up to Joe White. That was unfortunately something we saw a lot of last night. Quick at-bats that resulted in a pop-up or a ground out. White trying to keep the inning alive. As White takes a called strike on the inner edge. Joe White reaching on the error last inning by the shortstop Connor Gill, came around to score on the RBI single by Mike Caffarella. 2 outs in the inning. Matt Tessina taking his lead off of second base. Here's the pitch in, and this is lined down the right field line, but it is a foul ball. 2 strikes now on the batter, Joe White. Some chatter coming out of the Milford dugout now, not quite at the levels we've heard it at other points this season. They have been a more docile bunch in this series, as now this pitch misses low. Tessina back to the second base bag, now starts to backpedal out to a lead. Keeps track of the positioning of Connor Gill behind him, the shortstop, who is only a step or 2 behind. Here's the next pitch from Gibbons into Joe White. It misses high, and that will run the count full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to the second baseman, Joe White. Again, Tessina takes his lead. He holds, the pitch is swung on, popped up foul up over the backstop and out of play. And we will reset. Tessina leading off this inning. He reached base on an error by the first baseman. Made it to second on a sacrifice bunt by McMillan. He's there now with 2 outs. Joe White in the cleanup spot, trying to drive that man in. Here's another 3-2 pitch, and it misses outside for ball 4. That will put runners now at first and second base for post 59. It's the first walk of the game for Gibbons. And now here is Michael Ryan, who laced a double all the way down into the right field corner. Up now with 2 on and 2 outs. The first pitch into Ryan now is a called strike 1. Michael Ryan with a very strong showing in the semifinal round. Looking to continue that here in the finals. Certainly Milford looking to get their offense from other sources with, again, Kevin Martinez not a part of the lineup here tonight, unavailable for the game. Here's the pitch into Michael Ryan, and it is a called strike. 1 ball and 2 strikes now, the count to the Milford catcher. Trying to hang tough now with 2 strikes and 2 men aboard. Tessina and White take their leads. Here's the pitch. This is lined out to center field. Ranging over is Whitmer, and he is there to make the catch. That one hung up just long enough for the Wachusett center fielder to make the grab, and that will end the inning. Milford strands 2 runners on base. They've now stranded 4 in the game, and as we head to the bottom of the 3rd inning, it is a 1-0 score. Milford in the lead here on WMRC First Class Radio. Milford with 1 run on 4 hits so far in this game. They have yet to commit an error. Wachusett, no runs, no hits. They have committed 2 errors so far. Their defense struggling a bit more than it did less than 24 hours ago. The first pitch into Tim Post, the starting left fielder for Wachusett, foul to the backstop for strike 1. Mantoni right back into his windup and delivers a pitch down low. 1 ball and 1 strike the count to the first Wachusett batter of this bottom of the 3rd inning. And now this ball hit on the ground up the middle. It gets through the legs of Joe White and out into center field. And that will allow the leadoff man to reach. That is the first base runner now of the game for Wachusett. It breaks up a string of 6 in a row retired to open the ball game for Dan Mantoni. And there is the first Milford error of the night. Post now at first base for the designated hitter, A.J. Papandrea. He swings at the first pitch, hits it off the end of the bat. This is trouble down the right field line. It touches down fair, rolls towards the corner. Played quickly by Blake Hill. That will hold the runner at third base, but it is a double for Papandrea. And all of a sudden now it's Wachusett who's in business offensively. Their first 2 men reaching here in the 3rd. The first hit of the game now for post 42 as Papandrea gets the double. It moves Post along to third base. Runners at second and third now with nobody out, and here is Kevin Whitmer, the number 9 hitter in the Wachusett lineup, up in a big spot. He takes the first pitch inside and low for ball 1. Well, we saw things develop quickly for Wachusett offensively in the third inning last night. It's just something magical about this third inning. And 2 runners in scoring position, no outs. And now this pitch in tight to Whitmer, and the count goes to 2-0. Mantoni making his first pitches with men on base of the game. An error and a double getting this thing started. Now another one hit to second base. This one gets over the glove of Joe White. The tying run comes around to score. They'll throw up a late stop sign holding Papandrea at third. And this game is tied. That one a much tougher play for White. He went into a dive. That ball took a tricky hop on the infield, ended up bouncing over his glove, so this one should go as a single. An RBI in the process for Whitmer as Post crosses the plate with the first Wachusett run. 3 straight men reaching base to open up this bottom of the third inning, and it is now a 1-1 ball game. And now you can hear the chatter out of the Wachusett side, feeling the momentum shift in their favor as Milford stranded 2 base runners in the second and the third. Now Wachusett looking to capitalize. This ball is driven deep out to center field off the bat of Connor Gill. It should be plenty deep enough to get the run home. Here comes the throw from Kevin Lynch out in deep center field. It's cut off. It is a sacrifice fly for Connor Gill. And Wachusett now able to grab the lead. It is a 2-1 game. Papandrea comes in to score. Whitmer remains at first base with now 1 out in the inning. So the error hurts to start off this inning. The double compounding the damage. 2 runs scored for Wachusett. They take a lead in this game 2 of the Zone 4 finals, and still a long way to go before this inning comes to an end. The number 2 hitter, Jordan Tevens, takes a pitch high for ball 1, so that now the first time on the season that Dan Mantoni has allowed more than 1 run in a game. This ball is shot on the ground towards the left side, fielded a deep short by Andrew McMillan. They get the out at second base. The throw to first not in time to complete a potential double play, but good quick hands by Andrew McMillan at shortstop. They were able to cut down the lead runner. So Whitmer erased from the base paths at second. Tevens safe at first on the fielder's choice. He's there now with 2 outs. And an opportunity for Mantoni now to end the damage, but first he has to deal with Dan Jancora, who flew out to center field to conclude the first inning. He swings at the first pitch, hits it in the air out to left field. In is Cam Cosette. He is able to make the catch, and that will end this bottom of the third inning. But 2 runs come home to score for Wachusett post 42, and now the lead seesaws in their favor. Wachusett with the 2-1 lead over Milford here on WMRC First Class Radio. An error by Joe White to lead off the bottom of the third inning proved to be costly, as it opened the floodgates for a 2-run rally for Wachusett post 42. They now leapfrog ahead of Milford on the scoreboard, up 2-1. Milford will send batters 6, 7, and 8 to the plate here in the top of the 4th inning. That is Blake Hill, Cam Cosette, and Mike Caffarella. Hill to lead things off. He gets a big hand from the crowd. The Milford fans traveling well up here to Wachusett Regional High School in Holden, the home of Wachusett post 42, known to their fans as the Wombats. Owen Gibbons back out on the mound. His first pitch is hit hard down the right field line, but foul off the bat of Hill. Blake with a single in the second inning. That was Milford's best offensive inning so far. They were able to grab 3 hits in the frame, loaded the bases with no outs, but only walked away with 1 run. Controversial play as part of that inning with Michael Ryan thrown out at the plate on a bang-bang play. No balls and 2 strikes, the count to Hill here in his second at bat. Now too much time taken on the mound by Gibbons, and Hill is granted time. Now the 0-2 pitch fought off, foul and out of play off to the left. And the count remains 0-2. Still a lot of sunshine beaming down here on the field at Wachusett Regional High School. This 0-2 pitch up around the head of Hill. He has to duck out of the way. Count now goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. And now the next pitch from Gibbons down in the dirt. Hill hanging in there, working the count back to even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Now Gibbons back into the windup. Here is the 2-2 pitch, hit again down the right field line, but foul out of the field of play and onto the hillside beyond the fence and foul ground down the right field line. Gibbons back to the pitching rubber, looks into his battery mate Ruziak, now ready with another 2-2 pitch and another foul ball, this time sprayed off to the left and out of play, and a great at bat being put on here by Blake Hill to lead off the top of the 4th. Hill had started down the first base line, now comes back to home plate, picks up the bat. Gets ready to continue. First, a little bit of maintenance work around the plate by the home plate ump. Now everyone returns to their positions. Gibbons is ready with another 2-2 offering, and this one is hit off the end of the bat, out to left field, and it gets down for a base hit. So an excellent at-bat by Blake Hill, and he is rewarded with his 2nd hit of the afternoon. On base to lead things off here in the 4th inning. And how many times do you see that when an at-bat goes to that length, you see that many foul balls hit? It seems like the odds are always stacked in the hitter's favor that sooner or later he's going to get a pitch and he can handle for a base hit, and that was what we saw out of Blake Hill. At first base now with nobody out, Cam Wachusett at the plate. He takes the first pitch for ball 1. A tough at bat for Wachusett, up with the bases loaded and no outs in the second. He struck out swinging. Hill leads off of first. The 1-0 pitch is hit foul, and the count evens. Cam Wachusett did have a hit in the ball game yesterday. He went 1 for 2 before he was relieved for a pinch hitter in the 7th inning. 1-1 the count. The next pitch into Wachusett. Misses well outside and down in the dirt. The count goes to 2-1. Was a bit of a questionable decision, the pinch hitting appearance of Scott DeCapua for Cam Wachusett last night, given how tough Tanyan Ventris, the lefty thrower, was on the lefty bats in the lineup. Coach DeVito ending up choosing to pinch hit for one of his few righty bats. DeCapua ended up popping out on the first pitch. Wachusett with a much better at bat this time around, 3-1 the count. The next pitch in from Gibbons, and that misses inside. Wachusett remained at the plate for a moment to be sure it was indeed ball 4, but he trots down to first base now. The first 2 have reached here against Owen Gibbons. Blake Hill now pushed into scoring position down to second base with Wachusett at first. Now 2 walks in the game for Owen Gibbons, and he will face Mike Caffarella here in the starting lineup once again for post 59, and he's had a pretty good run so far in these playoffs. A couple of times on base in the semifinals, and he has an RBI to his credit in the game here tonight, the only RBI that Milford has to this point. It came on a single off the bat of Caffarella back in the second. There's the first pitch into Mike, and it's a borderline strike right at the bottom of the zone. 0-1 the count. Caffarella carefully watching the signals from Coach DeVito in the third base coach's box before stepping back in. The 0-1 pitch from Gibbons, and that one, a nice one on the outside corner, and it drops Caffarella into a 0-2 hole. You can hear the fans of each side behind me trying to fight for dominance. A good showing from both fan bases. 0-2 the count on Caffarella now, looking to protect the plate. Gibbons surveys the runners on, now delivers his 0-2 pitch. It's hit in the air, foul off to the left, out of play. And again, much better at bats all the way around in these early innings for Milford tonight. A lot of foul balls hit, working up the pitch count of Owen Gibbons. They want to get into that Wachusett bullpen if they possibly can. Here's another 0-2 pitch coming up. This is tapped down the first base line, but it's a foul ball. Hill and Wachusett off on contact. They return to their respective bases. Hill at second, Wachusett at first. And Mike Caffarella, settles back into the left side batter's box. Another 0-2 pitch on the way, and this one is popped up foul back towards the backstop. It will make its way over and out of play. Misses all the fans back here. Everyone trying to keep an eye out. And so the same thing we saw out of Blake Hill to open up this inning again here for Caffarella, refusing to go down quietly. A number of foul balls hit here in this at bat. He remains down in the count, 0-2. Gibbons takes a deep breath, now comes set. The pitch to the plate, and this one is hit in the air out to right field. It will drop down in front of Eric Sachs for a base hit. They hold Blake Hill at third. That one not hit deep enough for Coach DeVito to chance sending Hill to the plate, especially given the results from earlier in this game. More great at-bats by Milford. You really have to give a lot of credit to these hitters. They have really made Gibbons work, and Coach Tidman no doubt feels the same way as he now comes out of the dugout to have a talk with his starter, wiping the sweat from his brow as he's had to work very hard here to the first three batters of this inning. He's allowed a single to Blake Hill, a walk after a lengthy at-bat to Cam Wachusett, and another lengthy at-bat to Caffarella, resulting in a single. And for the second time tonight, Milford has the bases loaded with nobody out. The next batter to come to the plate is Kevin Lynch, the meeting over at the mound. Lynch now digging in on the right side. He hit one hard back in the second inning, but right at the center fielder to end the inning. That left two runners in scoring position. Lynch lays off the first pitch from Gibbons, which drops in too low for ball one. They've drawn the infield in tight at the corners. They play a double play depth up the middle. This one is hit on the ground, up the middle. It gets through for a base hit. Hill comes in to score. They wave Cam Wachusett to the plate. Here comes the throw. It's knocked down at the pitcher's mound. 2 runs come home to score. A 2-run single for Kevin Lynch, and now Milford is back on top, up 3-2. The first 4 have reached here for post 59. A big hit out of the number 9 spot in the lineup for Lynch. It drives in Hill from third base, Wachusett hustling around from second. And a 3-2 lead now for post 59, showing some good fight in this elimination game. They still have no outs in the inning, and now it's up to the top of the order. Matt DeCina takes ball 1 from Owen Gibbons, who's a little bit rattled here. This is the most success by far Milford has had against any of these Wachusett starting pitchers this season. Now 2-0 the count as Gibbons sends one well outside. Mike Caffarella is now the lead runner at second base with Lynch at first. The 2-0 pitch coming up from Gibbons. This one is swung on and hit foul and out of play off to the left by Matt DeCina. The count goes to 2-1. DeCina has been on base twice. He singled back in the first, reached on an error in the third. The Milford fans have sprung to life here in the stands. Here's the 2-1 pitch. In for a called strike 2. Close pitch. It could have been ruled low, but home plate ump saying it hit the bottom of the strike zone. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. The next pitch from Gibbons on the way, and it was offered at. And with first base occupied, nowhere for DeCina to go, he strikes out. And there is the first out of the inning. DeCina tried to hold up the swing, could not. And with Kevin Lynch at first base, no chance to beat out the throw from the catcher. That ball did briefly get away from Cam Ruziak, but it goes as a strikeout, the second of the game. And now Andrew McMillan hits one deep in the air out to right field. Ranging back is Eric Sachs. He is able to make the catch. Giving that one a ride was McMillan on the first offering, but not quite to the wall. Sachs was able to hang in there and make the catch. About 346 feet out to right field. It slims down all the way to 318 feet if you can hit it down the right field line. So there are 2 quick outs now in the inning. Runners remain at first and second now for Dan Mantoni. He takes an off-speed pitch that's in at the knees for strike 1. Mantoni 0 for 2 so far, a fly out to left and a pop out in foul ground to first base. He swings at this one, hits it hard on the ground to shortstop. A bobble by Connor Gill. Now he double clutches the throw to first, and he is safe. A bang play at first. Mantoni digging hard all the way, and he was just able to beat out the throw from Connor Gill at shortstop. That will be the 3rd error of the game for post 42. A routine grounder. First a bobble in the glove for Gill, then he double clutched trying to secure the grip in the throwing hand. And the throw to first base was late, so that allows now Joe White to come to the plate with the bases loaded. Mantoni at first, with Caffarella at second, and Lynch, Caffarella at third, as now this pitch goes to the backstop. And that will allow Caffarella to come in from third to score. That one actually may have hit Joe White as he was able to reach first base. So the runner comes in from third to score. So a big run in from third base as Caffarella scores. Everyone moves up a base. They're still loaded. Now for Michael Ryan. So Milford now with a 4-2 advantage, looking for more. And that pitch misses low. Milford catcher up at the plate. He is the 9th man to come to the plate for Milford this inning. They look to extend the lead. That pitch a called strike. The umpire receiving a lot of scrutiny from both fan bases so far in this game. It's an important one on both sides. Obviously, the Wachusett fans hoping to see their team sweep Milford and move on to the state tournament. The Milford fans looking to see this series extended to a 3rd game. Here's the next one, and it's on the outside corner for a called strike 3, and the inning is over. But a great inning for post 59. They plate 3 in the inning, and as we head to the bottom of the 4th inning, it is now a 4-2 lead for Milford over Wachusett here on WMRC First Class Radio. A good inning for Milford in the top of the 4th. They score 4 times. The big hit in the inning, a 2-run single by Kevin Lynch. They also receive a run on an errant throw by the shortstop. And the 4th run coming in after Joe White was hit by a pitch. With the bases loaded, the ball then went to the backstop, and that allowed the final run to come home. So 3 runs scored in the inning. 2 of them were unearned against Owen Gibbons. And now Dan Mantoni back on the mound for his 4th inning of work. He allowed 2 runs on 2 hits last inning. One of those runs was earned, one of them unearned. And Mantoni starts off this bottom of the fourth inning with strike one to Cam Ruziak. And now a close pitch on the outside edge, ruled a ball. That evens the count at 1-1. Ruziak hit a ground ball to shortstop in his first at bat. He's now down in the count 1-2 after fouling one up over the backstop out of play. Ruziak, Ventress, and Sachs, the three hitters due up for post 42 here in the fourth. Mantoni back into his windup, the pitch down and away. And the count evens at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Trying to keep that lead runner off base in this inning. Here's the 2-2. It's hit off the end of the bat. Out in foul ground. Ranging into the outfield is the second baseman, Joe White. He makes the catch. Caffarella was tracking it down the line. Hill racing in from the outfield, but it was the second baseman who was able to take charge and make the catch, and Ruziak is retired. That one just making its way fair back out onto the playing field before White made the catch. The bases are indeed empty now with 1 out, and here is Tanyan Ventress, the first baseman, up for the second time. He swings at the first one, hits it in the air out to center field. Jogging over a few steps is Kevin Lynch. He makes the catch. And it is 2 very quick outs here in the bottom of the fourth for Wachusett. And the right fielder, Eric Sachs, now getting his second at bat of the game against Dan Mantoni. And the first pitch, this is hit hard in the air out to right field. Blake Hill will watch it drop in front of him. And that will drop in for a base hit. It looked like Hill had that one sized up to make the catch. Instead, it dropped about 2 feet in front of him. Not sure if maybe Hill lost that one in the sun. It looked like a catchable ball. But at any rate, it's a man on first base now with 2 outs, and it allows the inning to extend for Tim Post, the left fielder. It's the 3rd hit now of the day for Post 42. Post reached on an error to open up last inning. He came around to score. Takes the first pitch for strike 1. The designated hitter, A.J. Papandreou, waits on deck. The 0-1 pitch now hit in the air, foul off to the left on a play. This ball field resting atop a hillside here in Holden. You can look out and see a little range of hills in the distance. You can see a good deal away. You can oftentimes see if the bad weather is on the way, which we have done so in the past here when we've broadcast from Holden. No bad weather out on the horizon here tonight, as it has been clear skies all game long. Another foul ball this time for Post. 2 strikes on the batter. The runner on first, Eric Sachs, reaching on a bloop single that landed in front of Blake Hill out in right field. Here's another 2-strike pitch from Mantoni on the inside corner for a called strike 3. Tim Post immediately turns around, has a few words for the umpire, but that will end the inning. So Mantoni able to pitch around the 2-out single, and we head to inning number 5 of Game 2 of the Zone 4 Finals with Milford on top 4-2 over Wachusett here on WMRC First Class Radio. 4 runs, 4 hits, and 1 error for Post 59. 2 runs, 3 hits, and 3 errors for Wachusett Post 42. Milford in the lead as they start this top of the 5th inning, and the man who led things off last inning up there to start things once again here in the 5th, that man being Blake Hill. Had a nice long at bat, was rewarded with his second single of the game. This time he hits one on the ground to first base. It's fielded on a couple of hops by Tanyan Ventress. He'll take it to the bag single-handedly. So Blake Hill retired for the first time today. The leadoff man retired for post 59. They'd had the leadoff man aboard in each of the previous 4 innings. 1 out now and the base is empty as Cam Cosette swings and misses at the first pitch. Already into the 5th inning now as we're just after 6 in the evening. As Cosette now hits one hard up the middle, but just sticking the glove out was Gibbons, and he manages to make the catch. Took a ricochet even as it hit the glove at full velocity, but Gibbons was able to hold on to it. That one may have caught Gibbons more than Gibbons caught the baseball, but regardless, it results in 2 quick outs here in the 5th. And now Caffarella up for the 3rd time. He takes the first pitch for ball 1. Mike Caffarella replacing Kevin Martinez at first base in the game. Martinez at college orientation at Northeastern today, not allowed to come to the game this evening, denied that request by his college coach. So Caffarella filling in at first. He's done a nice job filling in at the plate as well with 2 hits and a run batted in. And now sending a ground ball foul down the first base line. That evens the count at 1-1. Kevin Lynch waiting on deck. The 1-1 pitch drops in too low. Gibbons ready with another pitch. This one hit high in the air, but very foul and very out of play off to the right. Caffarella getting the scoring started in this game with an RBI single back in the 2nd inning, batting with the bases loaded. Caffarella exchanging some pleasantries with the home plate umpire as a new baseball was tossed into play. Caffarella, a very mild-mannered player, as this one now is uncorked by Gibbons. Ruziak had to lunge all the way into the right-handed batter's box to keep that one from going to the backstop. Gibbons ready with another throw, and this one up high. He loses Caffarella, who is now on base for the 3rd time in the game. Now a walk to go along with those 2 singles. And you knew other players in this lineup were going to have to step up in the absence of Kevin Martinez. We have seen it in these first 5 innings, getting production from up and down this lineup. Caffarella at first base with 2 outs, giving Kevin Lynch a chance. He swings at the first one, chops it to the left side, fielded by Dan Jancora. The throw to first base gets there in time for the out that retires the side. Milford strands a runner in the inning. We've played 4.5 now from Wachusett Regional High School. It is Milford on top by a score of 4-2 here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio. Getting things started now in the bottom of the 5th inning. The leadoff hitter, Papandrea, hits one on the ground to the left side, and the first out is recorded, a ground ball out to 3rd. And Papandrea, who doubled back in his first at bat in the 3rd inning, a ground ball out here to open up the 5th. As Mantoni continues to work for Milford, the 5-year Milford Legion veteran. And sends a big sweeping breaking ball in for strike 1. That had Kevin Whitmer ducking for cover, but it ended up dropping back into the strike zone. A nifty pitch from Mantoni. And now this one is hit hard up the middle. That one is ticketed for center field past the dive of Andrew McMillan. Good effort, ranging all the way behind the second base bag, but could not make the grab. Whitmer, after looking bad on the first pitch, grounds a single up the middle. 1 on with 1 out, and it's back up to the top of the Wachusett batting order once again in Connor Gill. Gill with a ground ball out in his first at bat. Hit a sacrifice fly in his second at bat. Now skies one out to left field. Cam Cosette ranging over to straightaway left as he was playing Gill a bit to pull, but he was able to make up the ground and make the catch. Gill retired quickly. 2 outs now here in the 5th. And now here is Jordan Tevens, the second baseman. He reached on a fielder's choice in the 3rd. He's also grounded out to short. Bats with a man on and 2 outs in the inning as now this ball is on the ground. It gets briefly away from Michael Ryan. The runner trying for second. The throw from the catcher Ryan not in time. That one only getting about a foot or two away from Ryan, but aggressive base running by Whitmer. He was just able to beat out the throw. So Whitmer, a steal of second base. He's into scoring position now with 2 outs. A 1-0 count to Tevens, who now sends a hard ground ball towards his own dugout. 1-1 the count. Tevens back in on the right side as Mantoni readies himself for another pitch. First he looks down to second. Takes a second glance, now comes to the plate. The ball hit on the ground to third base. A nice grab by Matt DeCina and a good accurate throw across the diamond for the 3rd out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Wachusett strands a base runner. They've now stranded one in each of the last 3 innings. We have played 5 full innings now in game number 2 of the Zone 4 finals. Milford in the lead 4-2 here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio. Hits are even now at 4 apiece in this game between Milford and Wachusett, but it is Post 59 who leads in the column that counts. They lead this game 4-2. As we enter into the late innings of this contest, the top of the 6th inning now about to get underway. Milford will bring the top of the order to the plate against Owen Gibbons, who will start his 6th inning of work. And to the best of my knowledge, we have not seen any action in the bullpen for Wachusett. They're trying to get the most out of their starter tonight. Cena leading things off. 1 hit in the game. He's been on base twice. Takes a ball on the ground here. Now steps back in on the left side against the righty throwing Gibbons. He goes back into his windup. Here is the pitch. It's up high. Should this series extend to a 3rd game, it would return to Fino Field tomorrow night at 7 p.m. As now DeCina hits this one out to right field. Ranging back is Sack, still going back. It gets over his head and rolls to the wall. It's extra bases for DeCina, who will hold up at second with a leadoff stand-up double.
Nice stroke, Matt.
Two for 4 now in the game is Matt DeCina. A single and now a double. Instantly into scoring position now to lead things off in the 6th, and now Andrew McMillan comes to the plate. Andrew had 4 hits in 5 official at-bats. In the semifinal round, he is still looking for his first hit here in the finals, and meanwhile, we mentioned not seeing anyone warming up for Wachusett in the bullpen. Well, it looks like we will see a new pitcher on now as Coach Tidman comes out of the dugout, takes the baseball from Owen Gibbons. His day is done. We will step aside here quickly. We'll let you know the new pitcher when we return, with Milford leading 4-2 over Wachusett here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio. Kevin Whitmer moves in from center field to take over on the pitcher's mound. After Owen Gibbons went the first 5+ innings, he allowed a leadoff double to Matt DeCina here in the 6th before being removed from the game. Ryan Jones moves to the outfield, replacing Kevin Whitmer, as now Andrew McMillan comes to the plate, takes the first pitch for a called strike one. I do believe I said the hits were even coming into this inning. It is actually a decided advantage for Milford in the hits category, as I get my scorecard updated now. 8 hits in the game in all now for post 59, with the single from DeCina included, out hitting Wachusett 8-4 and outscoring them 4-2. As now McMillan chops one up the middle, arranging play by the second baseman Tevens. He'll throw to first for the out there, but a productive out for McMillan as it pushes DeCina up to third base with now just 1 out in the inning. Gives an RBI opportunity to Dan Mantoni.
Come on, Dan, you gotta get him in.
Reached on an error by the shortstop Connor Gill back in the 4th inning. That allowed a run to come home to score. First pitch into Mantoni is a strike. Mantoni a fly out, a pop out, and reaching on that error. He's still looking for his first hit. Did not. And 1 hit in 3 at bats yesterday. Takes the ball just off the outside edge here. The infield placed tight all the way around. Right on the lip of the grass across the infield. Here's the next pitch into Mantoni. This is lofted in the air, out to right, falling fast. It gets underneath the glove of the sliding Eric Saxon, rolls to the wall. Into score without a problem is DeCina, and Mantoni will hold up at second base. Sax may have been better off just playing that ball on a hop. Even if he had made the sliding grab, he would not have been able to get to his feet in time, in all likelihood, to throw out the runner at home plate. But instead, went into the slide, and he paid the price as that ball glanced off the fingertips of his glove and rolled towards the wall. And that will go as the 4th Wachusett error of the game, as now White swings at the first pitch, hits it on the ground to second base. The play made there, the out at first. And that will again allow a base runner to advance. So another unearned run comes home to score for Milford. That's now their 3rd unearned run of the game. And you can officially close the book on Owen Gibbons now, giving up all 5 of those runs, but again, only 2 of them earned. Defense has been the difference in these 2 games. No errors for Wachusett last night, and no runs allowed. 3 errors in the game now, make it 4 errors, and that has opened things up for Milford to score the 5 runs that they have to this point. Michael Ryan at the plate now, hitting a ball foul down the first base line. Batting with 2 away in the inning. Mantoni, the runner, at third base. Shadows starting to creep out now onto the field. Home plate in shadows, the rest of the field mostly in the sunshine. As now this ball is hit foul. Up over the backstop and out of play. Two strikes now on the Milford catcher. He doubled all the way back in the second inning, watches a breaking ball stay outside. Ryan, 1 hit and 3 trips to the plate. He struck out with the bases loaded to end the 4th inning. Takes a pitch high here, and that runs the count full. 3 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs here in the top of the 6th. Dan Mantoni, the man at third. Takes a walking lead. The payoff pitch into Ryan is popped up. Up over the backstop again and out of play. Ryan settles back in on the left side. Lefty versus righty matchup. Kevin Whitmer, the reliever, sends the pitch in. This is hit high in the air out to center field. Tracking it is Jones. Gets underneath, makes the catch, and that will end the inning. Milford does grab another run, They extend their lead now up to 5-2 over Wachusett, headed to the bottom of the 6th inning now in this Game 2 of the Zone 4 Finals here on WMRC First Class Radio. Milford tacking a run onto their lead in the top half of this 6th inning. Manton coming around to score after the error out in right field on a ball hit by Dan Mantoni. Milford now with a 5-2 lead, 5 runs now on 8 hits in all in the game. They've committed 1 error post 42. With 2 runs in the game, they scored both of those runs all the way back in the 3rd inning. Dan Mantoni doing a nice job of limiting what this offense has been able to do since then. 1 hit allowed in the 4th, another hit allowed in the 5th. He's allowed just a total of 4 in the game, now facing batters 3, 4, and 5 here in the bottom of the 6th, as this one is hit to the backstop by Dan Jankura. Milford trying to force that Game 3 at Pheno tomorrow night. Mantoni back on the mound. And you would certainly think that Coach DeVito has every intention of letting Mantoni go the distance in this one as long as he still looks comfortable. 1-1 the count to Jankura. Here's the pitch. It misses outside. Mantoni has a couple of strikeouts in the game. He settles back on the pitching rubber, deals a called strike right on the outside edge. It has been a very warm day here in Holden. Bright, intense sunshine. It's just now starting to get a little bit shady out on the field. As now this pitch is swung on and missed. And actually just strike 2 in the at-bat. Makes it a 3-2 count. Ball that went to the backstop on the first pitch of the at-bat, not making contact with the bat of Jankura, but it's a 3-2 count now. The next pitch is hit in the air out to right center field. Ranging over is Kevin Lynch, still going over. He leaps and makes the grab. Very smooth out there in center field as Kevin Lynch covered a lot of ground traveling into the gap in right center. Made just a little bit of a jump to reel that ball in. And Jankura is retired to open up the bottom of the 6th inning. 1 defensive change to let you know about for Milford here in the 6th inning. Brendan Pounds makes his way out to right field. He replaces Blake Hill. Pounds will lead off the next inning. Cam Ruziak, the catcher, up now. A swing and a miss. Ruziak 0 for 2. After dealing the big hit in the game yesterday. The pitch from Mantoni, hit in the air out to center. This one shallow. Over is Lynch again. And again, he makes the grab. 2 flyouts to center field, and there are 2 down in the bottom of the 6th inning. And just a correction on the defensive change last inning for Wachusett. It was the DH AJ Papandrea, not Ryan Jones, who went out to center field to replace Whitmer, who came in to pitch. So the DH no longer a factor for Wachusett for these final innings. Tanyan Ventress now the man at the plate with 2 outs and the bases empty. A ground out and a pop out on the game so far for Ventress. 1 ball and 1 strike the count to the Wachusett first baseman. He settles in on the right side. The throw from Mantoni is a little bit outside. 2 balls and 1 strike now the count. Should the inning continue, Eric Sachs, the next scheduled hitter. Another pitch into Ventress. This one popped up. Makes its way out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes now the count. Mantoni looking for his 3rd strikeout. Ventress settles back into the box. Ready for another pitch. Here it comes, a breaking ball that stays high for Mantoni, and that runs the count full. Mantoni has not issued a walk so far in the game. Here's the payoff pitch. This one is lined out to left field, sinking fast. The dive from Wachusett. He can't make the catch. It rolls away from him, and this will allow extra bases for Tanyan Ventris. He will hold up at second base.
All right, keep working.
Cam Wachusett, the normal right fielder for post 59, making the start today in left as Milford shook up the defensive alignment a bit, made a nice bid on that ball that was sinking fast in front of him, but just could not make the catch. So runner at second base now. 2 outs in the inning, an opportunity for Eric Sachs, who fouls the first pitch to the backstop for strike one. Should go as a hit and an error, allowing Ventris to get into scoring position. A swing and a miss here by Sachs, and the count goes to 0-2.
Come on, Danny.
And we might be seeing Dan Mantoni emptying the tank here to try to get through the 6th inning. No doubt with David Sampson and Andrew McMillan available to pitch the 7th. Here's the 0-2 pitch. It's popped up foul off to the right and out of play. And the count stays 0-2. Dan Mantoni returns to the pitching rubber. A couple of practice cuts for Sachs before he settles back in. And now timeout is called at home plate.
Hit a spot, Danny.
Now everyone back into their positions as Mantoni readies for another 0-2 pitch. Here it comes to the plate, and it drops in for a called strike 3. There is the 3rd K of the game for Dan Mantoni, and it serves as the final out here in the bottom of the 6th inning. We have played 6 now from Wachusett Regional High School. Milford post 59 possibly closing in on a win here in game 2. Still more work to be done. You're listening to playoff coverage of Milford Legion baseball here on First Class Radio. And as promised, Brendan Pounds making the first at bat of this top of the 7th inning. He was a defensive replacement for Blake Hill in the previous half inning. Now sends a fly ball out to center field.
Ooh, boy.
Papandrea backing up. He backpedaled a long way. Looked like he was in trouble, but managed to make the catch. Pounds is retired for out number 1. Now it is Cam Wachusett up with the bases empty and 1 down. First pitch misses for ball 1. Wachusett so far tonight, a swinging strikeout in the 2nd. He walked and scored a run in the 4th and then hit a hard shot up the middle. But the pitcher, Gibbons, was able to make the catch. 1-1 now the count. Milford 3 outs away from evening this series at a game apiece. They lead 5-2. If the score does not change, it would be a save situation in the bottom half of this inning. Next pitch into Wachusett, sprayed foul off to the right. 2 strikes now on the batter. Wachusett, the righty, facing Kevin Whitmer, the right-handed throwing relief pitcher, and Wachusett loops this one up the middle. It touches down for a base hit. Wachusett a wide turnaround first, but he will settle with the 1-out single. Good contact there for Wachusett. He's aboard as a 1-out base runner. And now here is Mike Caffarella, who has had an excellent day at the plate. An RBI single in the 2nd inning. He singled and scored a run in the 4th and walked in the 5th. A perfect on-base day for the Milford first baseman. Whitmer from the stretch now before he throws the pitch. Instead, he will send a pickoff throw over to first base, and awkwardly just able to get back to the first base bag was Cam Wachusett. He was all kinds of twisted up, trying to get back to the bag, but managed to do so just ahead of the slap tag from first baseman Tanyan Ventris. That may very well keep Wachusett a step or two closer to the bag, as now the first pitch into Caffarella misses for ball one. One on with one out here in the top of the seventh. Another pickoff check at first, another close one. And Wachusett, again, just able to get back to the bag. The fans giving Wachusett a little bit of good-natured ribbing. He's made a couple of hard slides back into the base. He still gets off to a good lead here. A 1-0 pitch on the way. Wachusett holds, and the pitch misses down and away. 2-0 now the count to Caffarella. A look in from Whitmer. This pitch just grabbing the inside edge of the plate. 2 balls and a strike now the count. Good pitcher's pitch there by Whitmer with Caffarella ahead in the count 2-0. The count now 2-1. The next pitch on the way, Wachusett taking off as this one is looped up the middle. That's going to get down for a base hit. Wachusett will hold at second base. A little hit and run for post 59. Executed here. Runners at first and second now for post 59. Wachusett the lead runner at second with Caffarella at first, who is now 3 for 3 in the game. His 4th time on base. Great production from Milford from this number 8 spot, and now here is Kevin Lynch, who looks at the first pitch and misses outside. It gets past the glove of the catcher Ruziak, and that will allow the runners to advance. A wild pitch for Whitmer. Second and third now with 1 out, and an opportunity for Lynch to add to his RBI total, which stands right now at 2. A 2-run single for Lynch back in the 4th inning that gave Milford the lead. Milford leading the game 1-0 after the top of the second. They were trailing 2-1 heading into the 4th, but took the lead on that hit by Lynch, who now takes the ball low. It's a 5-2 score with Milford in the lead. Looking to tack on some insurance runs here with 2 in scoring position. That pitch misses low to Kevin Lynch, and that is ball 4. That almost caught Lynch by surprise, but he trots down to first, and this is now another bases loaded opportunity coming up for Milford with the top of the lineup coming to the plate, Matt DeCina, who hit one out to right field for a double his last time up. 2 for 4 in all in the game. Takes the first pitch for a called strike 1. Brendan Pounds flew out to open the inning, but since then 2 singles and a walk have loaded the bases. A big chance for Matt DeCina to open things up a bit. The first pitch a strike to DeCina. Another pitch on the way from Kevin Whitmer, who replaced Owen Gibbons on the mound last inning. It's now a 2-ball, 1-strike count. DeCina up now, McMillan waiting on deck. Here's the pitch, it misses high again. DeCina settling back into the box, a Milford runner at every base. As now that pitch drops in for a called strike 2. It is Cam Wachusett, the runner at third, Caffarella, the man at second, Lynch, the runner at first. This pitch hit on the ground, up the middle. It gets past the dive of the second baseman, Tevens. Around to score is Wachusett. Right behind him is Mike Caffarella. stopping at second base now is Matt DeCina. He drives in a pair, and that ups the Milford lead now to 7-2. That will end up going as a single for DeCina. He ended up taking second on the throw, but 2 runs batted in for the leadoff hitter. And that extends the lead for Milford. They came into this inning looking for some insurance. They got it. And now looking for more as Wachusett scores. Caffarella scores behind him. Kevin Lynch moves up to third. DeCina to second. And Coach Chuck Tidman back out on the mound. Doesn't look like he plans on making a change. Instead, just out there with a conversation between his relief pitcher, Kevin Whitmer, also Cam Ruziak, the catcher, out there joining the conversation. So Whitmer remains in the game to face Andrew McMillan. And McMillan takes a pitch just on the outside edge for a called strike 1. Still just 1 out in this inning. The last 4 straight have reached for Milford. And this pitch swung on and belted out to right field. That will drop down in front of Eric Sachs. Around to score comes Kevin Lynch. They will hold DeCina at third. The throw wildly comes in down the third base line, backed up in desperation fashion by Cam Ruziak. It is an RBI single for Andrew McMillan, and now an 8-2 lead for Milford, starting to pull away here in the 7th. And there is the first hit of this series for Andrew McMillan. It comes at a crucial time, driving in a run here in the 7th inning. Milford with 4 hits now in the 7th inning. They've scored 3 runs. And the first pitch in from Whitmer misses badly to Dan Mantoni. This has been a long time coming for Post 59, looking to punish this Wachusett pitching staff that has caused them so much frustration this season. Here's the 1-0 pitch. This is hit out to left field. That will drop in for a base hit. Trotting home is Matt DeCina with the 9th Milford run. 9-2 the score. 3 straight RBI base hits for Post 59. Action warming up now for Wachusett. Off down the right field line, a little too far away for us to see any jersey numbers, but Whitmer will remain in the game now to face Joe White, the 8th man to come to the plate this inning. Joe White credited with an RBI on a hit by pitch in the 4th inning. He'll snap the throw down to first base, and just diving back in safely is Mantoni. The pitch missed to Joe White. It's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. A 4-run top of the 7th inning to this point for Milford, still only 1 out. Wachusett, Caffarella, Lynch, DeCina, McMillan, and Mantoni have all reached base consecutively in this inning. And now a little nubber out in front of the plate. Cam Ruziak springs out to make the grab. He throws to first base in time to record the out. White retired 2-3. The runners do advance. Andrew McMillan now at third, with Dan Mantoni at second. And now timeout called around the plate. Baseball making its way out of the home dugout, collected by the Wachusett coaching staff, and now Michael Ryan steps into the box with 2 men in scoring position. Here's the first pitch. Misses outside for ball 1, and the ball gets away from Ruziak after he tried to frame it. He has to trot out to the edge of the infield dirt. Collects the baseball, flips it back to his pitcher. Michael Ryan with a double in this game, looking for his first run batted in. Milford now batting around for the second time in the game as Ryan hits this ball out towards deep right center field. Still going back. This one's going to roll to the wall. It gets between the center fielder and right fielder. 2 more runs in to score for Milford as McMillan and Mantoni both cross the plate. Michael Ryan clears the bases with his second double of the game. And this one has turned into a laugher for Post 59 as they lead it 11-2. And Whitmer now scraping some dust off the pitcher's rubber before the manager, Chuck Tidman, comes to the mound. He will relieve Whitmer here with the runner at second base, and now 2 outs in the inning. We will step aside for the pitching change. We'll let you know who's on when we return. Milford up now 11-2 here on WMRC First Class Radio. Wachusett now forced to utilize their 3rd pitcher of this game. We announced his entry into the ball game a little prematurely earlier as a defensive replacement, but now Ryan Jones is indeed into the game. He replaces Kevin Whitmer after a disastrous inning. Whitmer facing all 9 Milford batters in this top of the 7th inning, allowing 6 of them to come around to score and turning a 5-2 ball game into now an 11-2 blowout. And Brendan Pounds, he started this inning with a fly out, hit one deep out to center field, now up for the second time. I should say there are 2 outs in this inning. Joe White also retired on a ground ball out. 6 runs home for Post 59. Now Brendan Pounds hitting a looper over towards first base. Ventress there to make the grab. He jogs over to first base, taps it for the out. That ends the inning, so Jones only needs to throw a couple of pitches to end this top of the 7th inning, but big time damage done here in this top of the 7th inning for Post 59. They score 6 times. They carry an 11-2 lead into the bottom of this inning, and it is Dan Mantoni coming out to finish it off. We'll see the bottom of the 7th inning next here on WMRC First Class Radio. 11-2 the score. If you happen to wander away from your radio, you missed a crucial rally for Post 59 in the top half of this 7th inning. It still felt like quite a close ball game at 5-2 when the 7th inning began, but a different story now. A 9-run lead for Milford with just 3 outs left to go. Dan Mantoni back out on the mound looking to finish it off. First pitch fouled away. Now this one hit to the right side. A diving grab made by Joe White. The off-balance throw. He can't get it out of the glove, and the runner will reach. What a great diving grab made by Joe White. Trying to throw from his backside to get the ball to first base in time, but just could not get a firm handle on the baseball. That will go as a single. High degree of difficulty on that play for Joe White, the leadoff man aboard. Now the number 8 spot in the lineup up here, it is Papandrea who started off as the DH, now the center fielder. He swings at the first pitch, loops it out to center field, but the catch is made there by Lynch. And a quick out. The runner returns to first base. And a pinch hitter up now for Post 42, Travis Benoit. Replacing Kevin Whitmer, who originally held this number 9 spot in the lineup. Whitmer with a regrettable pitching line in that top half of the 7th inning. Pitched a total of an inning and 2/3 in relief, ended up allowing 6 earned runs on 6 hits. It's Benoit up now with 1 out and a runner at first base. Now loops one foul. 2 strikes on the batter. It'll be back up to the top of the lineup next. Connor Gill is on deck. Barring an unlikely comeback for Wachusett, we will indeed see Game 3 at Pheno Field tomorrow night, as there is a called strike 3 in at the knees of Benoit. He takes the 4th strikeout for Dan Mantoni in the game, and now Wachusett down to their final out. Connor Gill up for the 4th time recorded an RBI on a sacrifice fly back in the third inning. That sac fly gave Wachusett the lead, but now swinging at the first pitch, Gill hits it in the air out to left field. Wachusett with no trouble making the catch for the out that ends this game. And for the fourth time in 2014, Dan Mantoni pitches a complete game. He allows just 2 runs in the contest, and Milford facing elimination. They defeat Wachusett post 42 in big fashion tonight. They win by a final score of 11-2. So we will see a decisive third game in this series tomorrow night at Pheno Field. And it just seems only right that with these 2 opponents, this series goes the limit. Both teams out there shaking hands now after a hard-fought game, a big win for Milford.